Are there additional things you can do to make sure your scenarios are working?
Well, as you develop the stories, there's a couple of kind of rules of thumb testing tools that we can use. One is, can you see an event that takes you from one scenario to another? So if I think about the examples I've given in the future of work, like Proud Tower, the live to work, work to live, versus the freelance planet where you have the network world the millennials are taking us kicking and screaming into, could I imagine a future where in the corporate world there's actually a fallback from the corporations and there's an economic downfall that forces people into taking more self-ownership and creates a new economy that's much more networked? I can imagine that, right? So that's a plausible. The details of the logic are not important in that, but I can think about a future where that kind of thing might happen. And therefore, I want to look at all of the futures and say, is there a transition from one to another that I can imagine? And that usually is the case. It's not universal, but it's a good rule of thumb for if I can do that, then they're probably plausible. Another process that you can look at is do I see my future there? So if you think about your hero future, the future that you came into the scenario planning process as an institution before we started this process, and you can find kind of a version, at least, because it's not going to be exact. You can find a version of your future there, one that you go, yeah, that's kind of like what I thought the future might look like. That's probably a good test as well, that you picked up, I would say, kind of the vibe of the organization as you were going through the voting and the narratives and the deconstruction and all the stuff that leads into creating the story, that piece of your future infused in there, right? But on the other hand, you've now got three other futures that are very, very divergent from that one, which is very meaningful to the work that we're doing in terms of stretching people's views and taking their assumptions away from that one that was the hero, because before you had just one linear view of that's the future that we see, and now you can see three equally plausible alternative futures to that hero future, which brings in the power of scenario planning to help you stretch your ideas and drive innovation, etc.